Welcome to Sodanonymous. I'm your host, Sodanonymous. Today's episode is going to be Pepsi Cherry Vanilla. First off, we got the fun facts here. Let's go over that real quick. Pepsi Cherry Vanilla originally released in 2010 as a replacement for Pepsi Vanilla after Pepsi Vanilla failed to amass much popularity. The move is very similar to what the Coca-Cola company did in 2006 by replacing Vanilla Coke with Coca-Cola Black Cherry Vanilla for a limited time. Pepsi Cherry Vanilla was discontinued in late 2010 and wouldn't resurface again until 2015 as Pepsi Cherry Vanilla with real sugar. That variation was replaced by the conventional high fructose corn syrup version in February of 2016, and the flavor has appeared sporadically ever since. All right, well, with those fun facts out of the way, let's get on with the review. So first off, this is going to be a blind tasting. I've never had Pepsi Cherry Vanilla before. I'm interested, I'm intrigued. I don't quite know how good this is going to be. Basically, if you haven't seen my previous videos, regular Pepsi, I'm not a huge fan. I'm more of a Coke guy, really. Pepsi's okay. I really did not like Wild Cherry Pepsi much at all. I think it's way too candy, way too sugary, way too bright. So, you know, it's a decent flavor aside from that, but it's just so candy, sugar sweet that I can't really take it. And then vanilla was just okay. It was all right, kind of like regular Pepsi. I prefer the Coke versions of all three of these, Wild Cherry Pepsi especially. So I don't know if this is going to be any different, but all I know is I really hope it's going to be more vanilla than cherry, because if it is super sugary sweet like cherry with just a splash of vanilla, it's not going to be for me. But maybe if it's a bunch of vanilla with a little bit of cherry to make the flavor a little bit more interesting, then I'll be excited. I should explain, finding this was kind of interesting. I was driving around looking for the recently re-released Baja Blast. And while I was looking for Baja Blast, I was going through different stores around my area, and I found a couple of interesting sodas that will come up in the future. But one thing I found was this Pepsi Cherry Vanilla. I found it in a small Target, regular size Target, not a super Target, in sort of a lower income neighborhood. And when I was in there, there was one case of cherry vanilla left, and it was kind of hidden behind some of the regular wild cherry variety. And I remember seeing it and saying, whoa, I haven't seen that around. I've not really seen this around much, so I don't think it really lasts very long on the shelf. It's also interesting that the internet is kind of not really explaining how I found this, because everywhere I look says that Pepsi Cherry Vanilla was discontinued in 2017. It's on the official Pepsi Twitter. You can't really buy it new on Amazon. You can't get it, from Pepsi.com. So for all intents and purposes, this should be discontinued. But this soda expires April 15th, 2019. So it must have come out within the past couple months. My guess is that this came out in February of 2019 for one of its limited runs, because previously it's been associated with like Valentine's Day. And it just didn't get any publicity or whatever. This is kind of an enigma. I'm not really sure how I found this. There was only one. It was kind of dirty, but it's still in expiration period. So, and the cans don't last forever. So it's had to have been made this past year in the very least. So yeah, it's kind of interesting that I got my hands on this. All right, well, one more thing I should say actually before we pop it open. I really do like the can design. I think this is by far the best look that Pepsi's got going on right now. It's sort of the same style that they're going for in all their other ones, except they're willing to actually change the main color of the can. So instead of doing blue with accents, it's willing to cover the whole thing. And I think it looks really cool. I think the cream color, taking the predominant portion of the can with the little red accents, looks really interesting. I wish, honestly, that they would make the vanilla entirely cream and the wild cherry entirely entirely red color, because I think that would look a lot better. But, you know, what do I know? I'm not a marketing executive. All right, well, that's all I got to say leading up to opening it, so let's get started on that. All righty, let's pop this guy open. Good sound. First, I'm going to pour it in here. I'm going to do a smell test. Like I said, I'm really hoping it's going to be more vanilla than cherry, but we'll see. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Yep, standard cola color. It might be slightly darker than most of the Pepsis that I'm normally seeing. It looks a little bit less reddish, but it's cola color. It's nice and bubbly, nice and fresh. All right, let's go for a smell here. It is an interesting combination. I'm definitely getting the higher notes of the cherry coming through. I think it is a predominantly vanilla beverage mixture because the vanilla is definitely the base of the flavor, but the vanilla stays, it's not super deep of a flavor, but it stays sort of in the deeper ranges, or maybe the more moderate ranges of the taste palette. But cherry, when it's super bright by itself, and I think they're both sort of counterbalancing each other, where vanilla is kind of taking that ridiculous extreme of sweet and bringing it down, and it's just sort of making for a pretty nice smell. It's just a bright, with a hint of cherry and a wide vanilla base and a little sprinkles of Pepsi underneath. It's not strong. It's not punching me in the face. It's just the vanilla Pepsi, but with a little sweet of an edge to it. You could pick out the cherry, so it is there. It's just not extreme, which makes me very happy. It makes me much more excited for this drink now. Yeah, it smells pretty good. All right, so I'm going to give this a taste here. This is Pepsi Cherry Vanilla. First time I'm ever having it. Going down. Huh. It's kind of a lot going on at once, which is an interesting thing to say for a Pepsi product, because Pepsi usually is dead simple to me. But it's kind of... There's a bit of a war for flavor supremacy going on in the drink, which is trying to be the predominant flavor or not. It's definitely better than the regular cherry. I would call this good. I think I like it. I mean, it tastes like what you would expect. It's got a light Pepsi flavor underneath. Not really much bite, just a little bit, just a scotch of a bite. The predominant full body of flavor is the vanilla. It's definitely sort of a rich, sweet vanilla bean type taste. Little aspects of cream. It's kind of creamy notes. And then it's just the cherry on top. It's not a bunch of cherry. It's just enough of a cherry to make sort of a creamy, sweet beverage with just a hint of cherry in it. To help me pick this apart, I've got all three of the, supposedly all three of the flavors that are all in this. I don't know if they use a different cherry formulation or if they use a different vanilla formulation or if they just literally take both and put them in. My assumption is the latter because that sounds cheaper to do, but who knows. So I'm just going to pop these guys open just to help me sort this guy out. 1, 2, and 3. All right, let's see if we can get to the bottom of this. First, I'll have a regular Pepsi. It's Pepsi. I think I like this better than regular Pepsi. Regular Pepsi is definitely more acidic. I can taste that citric acid. It's got that sort of that lime flavor that I've described before. Beyond that, Pepsi's dead simple. I mean, it's just sweet. So is this drink also sweet? Yes. So it's got a little bit of a hint of Pepsi in there. Little hint of cola, not much. All right. Let's check the cherry now. It's just so sweet. It blows your face off. All right, try this. Yeah, in comparison, it's such a like a subtle, nicer cherry flavor than just the kill your taste buds with crazy cherry. This drink is way sweeter than this one in terms of taste, so that's good. The cherry's the same. It's the same kind of cherry. It's just to a lesser degree, and I think it complements itself with the vanilla quite well. It tastes really good. Can't say the same for wild cherry. So I'm going to move that off to the side and let's do this comparison now. So vanilla. Okay. You know what? All three of them, back to back, compared them, compare and contrast. This is the best one out of all of them. Do I think it's perfect? No. Do I think it's exceptional? No. But I do think that it definitely improves upon regular Pepsi. It's a much more complex and interesting flavor, where Pepsi is just not to me. It definitely improves on wild cherry Pepsi. Wild cherry Pepsi blows your taste buds out with way too much sweetness, and it overpowers the cherry part of the drink, and I don't really think it's enjoyable. And the cherry here is nice, palatable, actually very pleasant, and it's good. So I like being able to actually enjoy the cherry flavor here. And then the vanilla's good, but it's kind of plain. In comparison to this, it's just kind of super simple vanilla and sweetness taste is really what it is, with little hints of Pepsi in there. Whereas this, the combination of the cherry and the vanilla, they sort of war at each other in your mouth. At the very initial hit of your mouth, you're definitely hit with the vanilla first, and then as you swallow it, the vanilla kind of fades back and the cherry comes out. Especially in the aftertaste, the cherry really comes out in your saliva. So it's a more complex flavor, it's a more interesting flavor. It does all three better in my opinion. So if you can get your hands on this, go ahead and check it out if this sounds interesting to you. Like I said, I don't think it changes the game or anything. I would prefer this on the shelves than either of these, but that's just me. I think if I'm going to give this a rating here, it's going to be a 7. It's a respectable 7. It's pretty good. It's nothing earth-shattering, but as a pleasant, desserty type beverage, it is more in the sweeter side of the spectrum, as Pepsi tends to be. I would say it is a little bit sweeter than normal Pepsi, but I think it's also a little bit sweeter than vanilla, but it's significantly less sweet than wild cherry. So, do with that information what you will. If you really don't like super sweet sodas, if you're more of a diet soda drinker, or if you tend to like the darker stuff like root beer, this is not going to be for you. But if you like candy stuff, if you like normal Pepsi, you'll probably like cherry vanilla. Anyway, I think that's all she wrote. That's all I have to say. So have you guys ever had cherry vanilla? If you can find cherry vanilla around, can anybody give me a timetable about when this came back recently? Because I can't find it online at all. Nobody talking about it. I don't know. So if you can point me in the direction, either it's in your home market or you remember when it came back, let me know down in the comments below. And be sure to like, subscribe, comment, do whatever you got to do. And yeah, that's about it. So this is Sodanonymous signing off, and hope to see you next time.